Hey everyone, and welcome to Growth Within.
Ooh, very exciting.
I know, right?
A brand new series.
Yeah.
All about unlocking your potential
Exactly.
and becoming the best version of yourself.
That's what we're all about here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Me too, and I am so pumped to have you all along for the ride.
Yes.
For our very first deep dive, we are tackling a universal struggle.
Oh, yes.
A foe we all know too well. Procrastination.
It's a big one.
It really is.
It affects so many of us.
Yeah, we've got a stack of research and expert insights to help us all understand, why we procrastinate, and most importantly,
The big question.
yeah, how to break free.
How do we get rid of this thing?
Exactly.
So it's fascinating how procrastination affects almost everyone.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Think about this. A 2022 study
Okay.
found that a staggering 95% of students admit to procrastinating.
Wow. 95%.
And it doesn't magically disappear after graduation either.
Oh, no.
It can cause real havoc in our work lives, too.
For sure.
Impacting everything from team dynamics to leadership trust.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well, that looming deadline, that growing pile of tasks.
Yeah.
But hey, that's why we're all here, right?
That's why we're doing this.
To dive deep and find those actionable strategies.
Yes.
To finally kick procrastination to the curb.
Love it.
But first, let's define what we're dealing with here.
Okay.
What exactly is procrastination?
Well, it's more than just putting things off.
Okay.
Researchers define it as unnecessarily delaying tasks we intend to do, even when we know it'll have negative consequences.
We know it's bad, but we still do it.
Yeah, it's like choosing that tempting slice of cake,
Ooh, cake.
knowing it might totally derail our fitness goals.
It's that classic battle
Yeah,
between instant gratification and long-term goals, isn't it?
for sure.
That I'll do it tomorrow mentality,
Yes.
even when tomorrow never seems to arrive.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is,
What's that?
procrastination isn't always about laziness. Yeah, it's often driven by deeper emotions.
Okay.
Fear, anxiety, even boredom.
Huh. Interesting.
Picture this. You've got to give a big presentation.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Instead of prepping, you find yourself organizing your desk,
Ah.
even alphabetizing your spice rack.
Oh, I've been there.
It's not that you're lazy, are you?
No, not at all.
You're likely avoiding the task because of performance anxiety.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
So procrastination is more like an emotional response
absolutely.
than a character flaw.
Yes.
Okay. That's a bit of a relief, actually.
Yeah, and the word itself literally means forward and of tomorrow,
Huh.
highlighting that tendency to push things to a later date.
Interesting.
The funny thing is we know it's counterproductive,
We do.
yet we do it anyway.
It's true. It's like knowing you should floss every day,
Yeah,
but somehow that bag of chips seems much more appealing in the moment.
right.
Yeah. So emotions are one culprit.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other root causes we should know about?
Definitely.
Okay, lay it on me.
Researchers have identified a few key culprits.
Right.
One is something called dysfunctional delay.
Okay.
Basically, a pattern of postponing tasks,
Even when we should be doing them.
even when we know it's harmful.
Right.
Think of it as a trap we fall into.
Got it.
And this dysfunctional delay is often fueled by three main factors.
Three main factors.
The first is, as we've discussed, those emotional triggers,
Like fear of failure.
like fear of failure, anxiety about not meeting expectations, or simply feeling overwhelmed by a task.
I feel that.
It's like our brain hits the avoid button to just get some temporary relief.
To escape.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So what's the second factor?
The second factor,
Yeah, feeding this dysfunctional delay monster.
this one's all about self-regulation, or rather, the lack thereof.
Okay.
It boils down to difficulties in managing our impulses and staying focused on our goals.
I struggle with that.
It's that internal struggle between what we know we should be doing
Yeah, yeah.
and what feels good in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like knowing I should be prepping for that important meeting.
Yes.
But that new season of my favorite show is calling my name.
Exactly. And this is where impulsivity comes into play.
Okay.
Procrastinators often prioritize those quick rewards.
The instant gratification.
Yeah, like binge watching a show
Oh, yeah.
over long-term achievements, like acing that meeting.
True. Okay, so emotional triggers, self-regulation struggles. What's the third factor that sets us up for procrastination?
Our environment.
Oh, environment.
Think about it. A noisy workspace.
Yeah.
Constant notifications popping up.
Oh, I hate those.
Clutter everywhere.
Yes.
All these can derail our best intentions.
Oh, for sure.
It's like trying to meditate in
Yeah.
the middle of a rock concert.
I can't imagine.
It's no wonder you struggle to focus.
It really is.
When your phone's buzzing every 5 seconds with social media updates and news alerts.
Seriously, it's a nightmare.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Even small things like an overflowing inbox or a messy desk can make a task feel overwhelming, prompting us to put it off.
Absolutely. Now, the good news is...
Oh, there's good news.
Yes, procrastination isn't a life sentence.
Thank goodness.
It's a habit.
Yeah.
And habits can be changed.
We can do this.
That's reassuring to hear. So what are some practical strategies we can use
to
break free from this procrastination cycle?
Let's get practical.
I'm all ears.
Let's start with a foundation for productivity.
Okay.
Time management.
Time management.
If you can master your time, you'll be well on your way to conquering procrastination.
I like it.
One incredibly helpful tool is the Eisenhower matrix.
The Eisenhower matrix.
Yeah, have you heard of this?
I think so.
Imagine a simple grid where you categorize your tasks based on their urgency and importance.
Okay, so it's like a filter for your to-do list.
Exactly.
Helping you prioritize what needs immediate attention and what can wait. So something urgent, AD, important, goes straight to the top of the list.
Exactly. For example, if you've got a presentation due tomorrow, that's both urgent and important. But you also have that long-term goal of writing a book.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
That's important, but not urgent.
Right.
So you'd schedule dedicated time for it.
Okay.
Maybe an hour every Sunday morning.
I like that.
Rather than letting those urgent tasks constantly push it aside.
Yeah, those can really take over.
Right.
The Eisenhower matrix sounds like a game changer for staying organized and focused.
It can be really helpful.
But what about those mammoth tasks that just feel too overwhelming?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
To even start?
Yeah.
Those are the ones I tend to procrastinate on the most.
You and everyone else.
Really?
That's where the baby steps approach comes in handy.
Baby steps.
Instead of staring down a massive project that feels like climbing Mount Everest,
Okay.
you break it down into smaller, more manageable chunks.
So instead of write a 10-page report,
Exactly.
it becomes research key points, create an outline, write the introduction, and so on.
Exactly.
I see.
These smaller steps make the task feel less daunting and easier to start. It's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Love that analogy.
Right.
It's so much easier to take those first few bites than to try to swallow the whole thing at once.
Exactly.
So we've got the Eisenhower matrix for prioritizing.
Yeah.
And the baby steps approach for tackling big projects.
Mm-hmm.
What other time management tips can help us win the battle against procrastination?
Well, there's the Pomodoro technique.
The Pomodoro technique.
Have you heard of that one?
It rings a bell, but refresh my memory.
Okay.
Is it something about tomatoes?
Not quite, although the name comes from those tomato-shaped kitchen timers.
Oh, right.
The idea is to work in focus bursts of 25 minutes.
Okay.
Followed by a short break, usually 5 minutes.
Okay.
Then repeat. This creates a rhythm of focused work and strategic rest.
Ah, I get it.
Yeah.
So it's like interval training for your brain, pushing yourself for a short focused burst, then giving yourself a moment to recharge before the next sprint.
Exactly.
I'm liking this.
It's especially helpful for those who get easily distracted.
Oh.
Knowing you only have 25 minutes to hyper-focus on a task can really help you resist checking your phone or getting sidetracked.
So the Pomodoro technique is like a productivity hack.
It is.
For our attention spans.
Exactly.
I love it. What other time management tricks do you have up your sleeve?
Have you tried time boxing?
Time boxing.
It's similar to the Pomodoro technique.
Okay.
But instead of set intervals, you dedicate specific blocks of time on your calendar for specific tasks.
Oh, that's a good idea.
For example, instead of saying, I'll work on this project sometime today.
Right.
You block out, say, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. specifically for that project.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like making an appointment with your productivity.
Exactly.
No more vague intentions, just a clear commitment carved out in your schedule. I can see how that would make a huge difference.
It does. And here's a bonus tip.
Okay.
The 2-minute rule.
The 2-minute rule?
If a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately.
Oh, interesting.
Think about replying to a quick email, filing a document, or organizing your desk.
Right.
Individually, they seem insignificant, but they can pile up and become a mental burden contributing to procrastination.
I see your point. Okay, 2-minute rule noted.
Good.
I can definitely see how knocking out those small tasks right away can help me feel more in control and less overwhelmed.
Exactly.
So we've covered a ton of ground on time management.
We have.
But what about those pesky thoughts that sabotage our efforts?
Oh, yeah.
Even with a solid plan, sometimes my inner critic takes over. and convinces me I can't do it.
Ah, yes, the inner critic.
It's the worst.
Negative self-talk is a major driver of procrastination.
I believe it.
It's like having a little voice in your head,
Yeah.
whispering doubts and fears,
Yeah.
making it hard to feel confident or motivated.
It's like that feeling before a big presentation.
Mm-hmm.
When your brain suddenly decides to remind you of every time you've ever stumbled over your words.
Oh, yeah.
Or forgotten a key point.
Exactly. But here's the key.
Okay, tell me.
You don't have to let that inner critic run the show.
We have a choice.
You do.
So how do we silence that negative voice and cultivate a more positive,
Kaya?
productive mindset?
Awareness is the first step.
Okay.
Start paying attention to those negative thoughts.
Really listen to them.
Yeah. What are they saying?
Yeah, what are they saying?
Are they truly accurate, or are they based on fear and insecurity?
That's a good question.
Once you've identified them, you can start challenging their validity.
Okay. So instead of letting that voice say, I'm going to fail this test,
Yeah.
I might pause and ask myself, is that really true?
Good.
Have I studied enough? Have I passed similar tests before?
Exactly. And more often than not,
More often than not.
you'll find those negative thoughts are distortions, not facts.
Interesting.
They might feel real, but they don't reflect your true abilities.
It's like having a mental debate with ourselves, using logic and reason to dismantle those irrational fears.
Precisely. And once you've identified and challenged those negative thoughts,
Okay.
you can start replacing them with positive affirmations.
So instead of, I'm going to fail,
Yeah.
I might say, I've prepared well and I'm capable of doing this.
Exactly. It might feel a little cheesy at first,
I can see that.
but positive self-talk can have a powerful impact on your mindset and your motivation.
I believe that.
By consciously choosing to focus on your strengths and capabilities, you build confidence and create a more supportive inner dialogue.
It's like we're our own personal hype squad,
Yes,
cheering ourselves on and reminding ourselves of what we're capable of.
exactly. And I think another key to silencing that inner critic is shifting our focus from perfection to progress.
Perfectionism.
Perfectionism is a breeding ground for procrastination.
It really is. When we're fixated on doing everything perfectly,
Yeah.
we set ourselves up for disappointment and paralysis. It's like we're so afraid of making a mistake
Right.
that we never even start.
Right. It's that fear of not measuring up that can keep us stuck.
Totally.
Yeah,
But when we shift our focus to progress, the pressure eases.
it does.
We acknowledge that it's okay to make mistakes, to learn, and to improve along the way.
I think that's so important,
It is.
especially in today's world where social media often presents this unattainable image of perfection.
Oh, I said every.
It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others
Yeah.
and feeling inadequate.
I know that feeling.
But the truth is, everyone makes mistakes.
We do.
Everyone has their own unique journey.
That's true. It's about embracing the process, not just the outcome.
Yes.
Celebrating those small wins along the way, rather than fixating on some elusive idea of perfection.
Embracing the journey. I like
Me
that.
too. So it's not about being perfect.
Nope.
It's about making progress and celebrating those small victories.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
exactly. And you know what? Sometimes even with a solid plan and a positive mindset,
Okay.
that first step can still feel like trying to move a mountain.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah.
It's like my brain knows what to do,
Yeah.
but my body just won't cooperate.
And that's where behavioral hacks come in.
Behavioral hacks.
Those clever strategies for tricking our brains into action.
Ooh, behavioral hacks. I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
We'll dive into those in the next part.
Oh, man. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Growth Within. I'm ready to unpack some of those behavioral hacks you mentioned because, let's face it, sometimes knowing what to do isn't enough.
Right.
We need those little nudges to get us over that initial hump.
I hear you. Sometimes our brains need a little trickery to get them moving.
A little push. Yeah, remember how we talked about that mountain of a task? Well, one of the simplest yet most effective ways to tackle it
Okay.
is to just start small.
So it's not about conquering the entire mountain in one go, but rather focusing on taking that first step,
Yes.
then the next.
Exactly. Instead of telling yourself, I need to clean the entire house.
Right.
Start with, I'm going to clear off the kitchen counter.
All right.
By breaking the task into those bite-sized pieces,
Uh-huh.
you make it less intimidating and more likely to get started.
It's like tricking your brain into thinking, oh, this isn't so bad. I can handle this.
Precisely. And once you've cleared that counter,
Yeah.
you might find yourself thinking, Okay, maybe I'll just load the dishwasher while I'm at it.
Oh yeah, one thing leads to another.
It's all about building momentum.
Those small wins can be surprisingly motivating. But what about those tasks that just feel inherently unappealing,
Yeah.
no matter how small we break them down?
For those, we have something called temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling.
Have you ever tried that?
It sounds intriguing, but I'm not sure I've ever consciously used it.
It's a really clever way to make those dreaded tasks more appealing.
Okay.
The idea is to pair something you need to do with something you want to do.
Okay, so like a reward.
So if you hate folding laundry,
I do.
maybe you only allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while you fold.
Oh, I see. So it's like rewarding yourself for doing the less desirable task by pairing it with something enjoyable.
Exactly. Or if you're trying to make exercise a habit,
Okay.
maybe you only watch your favorite show while you're on the treadmill.
That's good.
You're essentially training your brain to associate something you dread with something you love.
That's brilliant. That's like a little mental hack
Yeah.
for outsmarting our own resistance.
And speaking of resistance,
Okay.
let's talk about those external forces that can sabotage our productivity.
Oh, no.
I'm talking about distractions.
Distraction.
Those digital sirens that lure us away from our goals.
Oh, the distractions. Social media, news alerts, endless notifications.
Yeah, right.
It's like a constant battle for our attention spans.
You're telling me. And the more we give in to those distractions, the harder it becomes to focus and resist procrastination.
Yeah.
So what can we do to minimize their impact?
Well, I've tried turning off notifications, but I always end up turning them back on because I'm afraid I'll miss something important.
I understand. But sometimes we need to be a little more proactive.
Okay.
Have you considered using website blockers or app timers?
Website blockers.
Yeah, to limit your access to those distracting websites and apps.
I haven't tried those, but it's a good idea. Especially during those times when I really need to buckle down and focus.
It can be a game changer.
Okay.
It's about creating boundaries and setting yourself up for success.
Like that.
It's like saying to your brain, okay, for the next hour, we're focusing on this task, and then you can have your social media fix.
It's about being the boss of our technology rather than letting it boss us around.
Exactly. And sometimes it's not just about minimizing external distractions.
Okay.
It's also about managing our internal distractions, those thoughts that pop up and pull us away from our work.
Oh, yeah, I get those.
That's where mindfulness comes in.
Mindfulness. I've heard that term thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what it means.
Think of mindfulness as paying attention to the present moment.
Okay.
Without judgment.
Without judgment.
It's about noticing those thoughts and feelings that arise.
Okay.
Without getting swept away by them.
So instead of getting lost in a spiral of worry about an upcoming deadline, I might simply acknowledge that I'm feeling anxious and then gently redirect my attention back to the task at hand.
Exactly. And mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind or achieving some blissful state of relaxation.
Right.
It's about becoming more aware of your thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
So that you can choose how to respond to them.
Right.
Rather than just reacting automatically.
It's like having a pause button for your brain.
Yeah.
Giving yourself a moment to choose a more helpful response.
Yes.
Rather than getting hijacked by those unhelpful thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. And one of the simplest ways to practice mindfulness is through focused breathing exercises. Have you ever tried those?
I've dabbled in meditation apps.
Yeah.
But I always find my mind wandering.
That's perfectly normal.
It is.
The mind loves to wander.
It really does.
But the key is to simply notice when your mind has wandered and gently guide your attention back to your breath.
So it's not about stopping those thoughts altogether, but rather about noticing them.
Yes.
And then choosing to redirect our attention.
Precisely. And with practice, you'll find that you're able to focus your attention for longer periods of time and to calm those racing thoughts that often fuel procrastination.
That makes sense. Okay, so mindfulness and breathing exercises sound like valuable tools.
They are.
For managing those internal distractions. But what about those times when we've already fallen into the procrastination trap?
Yeah, that happens.
What can we do to forgive ourselves and get back on track?
That's where self-compassion comes in. Remember we talked about how beating ourselves up only makes things worse?
Yeah, it's like adding fuel to the fire of procrastination.
Exactly. Instead of motivating us, it just makes us feel worse.
Right.
And less likely to take action.
Makes sense. So instead of berating yourself for procrastinating, try to approach yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend who is struggling.
That's a good point.
So instead of saying, I'm so lazy for putting this off.
Yeah.
I might say, it's okay I was struggling with this task. Everyone procrastinates sometimes. I'm going to try again tomorrow.
And exactly. It's about treating yourself with compassion.
Yeah.
And recognizing that you're human, not a productivity robot. It's, you know what?
What's that?
Sometimes even with the best intentions and strategies,
okay,
we need a little extra support.
Oh, absolutely. We're not meant to do this alone. Sometimes we need a cheerleader in our corner.
Yes.
Someone to help us stay accountable and motivated.
And that's where accountability partners come in.
Accountability partners.
Have you ever tried working with an accountability partner?
I haven't, but I've heard great things about it. It's basically like having a workout buddy for your goals.
Exactly. It's about finding someone who supports your goals and who will gently nudge you back on track when you start to veer off course.
So it could be a friend, a family member, a colleague, or even a coach.
Exactly. The key is to find someone who is supportive, non-judgmental, and who genuinely wants to see you succeed.
And it's important to be clear about your expectations and goals from the outset, right?
Yes, definitely.
Like how often you'll check in, what kind of support you're looking for.
Right.
And what the consequences are for not meeting your commitment.
Exactly. The more structure and clarity you can bring to the partnership, the more effective it will be.
And accountability doesn't have to be a one-on-one thing. There are also accountability groups which can offer even more support and motivation.
Absolutely. Accountability groups offer the added benefit of shared experience and peer support.
It's like having a whole team of cheerleaders in your corner.
And speaking of motivation, let's talk about those little boosts we can give ourselves along the way.
Okay.
Positive reinforcement can be incredibly powerful.
Rewards. I love rewards. They make the hard work feel so much more worthwhile.
And they can be a really effective way to motivate yourself and to celebrate your progress.
So instead of just waiting until we've achieved the big goal, we can reward ourselves for those smaller milestones along the way.
Exactly. And the key is to choose rewards that are meaningful and motivating to you.
Right. It has to be something I actually want.
So instead of just giving yourself a generic pat on the back,
yeah,
you might treat yourself to something you really enjoy.
Okay.
Like a special meal, a relaxing activity, or a new book or gadget.
Ooh, a new gadget. Now you're speaking my language.
And it's important to link those rewards to specific milestones and achievements.
Right.
So instead of just saying, I'll reward myself when I finish this project,
right,
you might break the project down into smaller chunks and reward yourself for completing each step along the way.
I like that. That's a great way to stay motivated and to keep the momentum going.
Exactly. And it's important to make those rewards visible and tangible.
Visible.
So instead of just thinking about the reward in your head,
right,
you might actually write it down on a sticky note and put it somewhere. You'll see it often.
Oh, I like that. Or maybe create a visual tracker of your progress.
Yeah.
And reward yourself when you reach certain milestones.
Exactly. The more we can make those rewards feel real and tangible, the more motivating they will be.
Okay, accountability partners rewards.
Yeah.
Any other tools in that procrastination busting toolkit?
Absolutely. We can't forget about the amazing tech tools available today.
Ooh, tech tools.
Think task management apps, time tracking tools, online learning platforms.
Okay.
There's a whole digital world dedicated to boosting our productivity.
It's like having a personal assistant in our pocket ready to help us stay organized and on track.
Exactly. And one of the best things about these tools...
What's that?
...is that they can help us automate a lot of those good habits we're trying to build.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
So instead of having to rely on willpower to remember to do something, we can set up reminders, create recurring tasks, and track our progress automatically.
Exactly. This frees up our mental energy to focus on the work itself rather than the logistics of staying organized.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of your favorite tech tools for combating procrastination?
You know, I'm always looking for new apps to try. Well, for task management, I love apps like Trello.
Trello, I've heard of that.
Todoist and Asana.
Yeah.
They allow you to create boards, lists, and cards to organize your tasks.
Oh, wow.
Set deadlines, assign responsibilities, and track your progress.
That's awesome. I've heard great things about Trello. I might have to give that a try.
It's a good one. And what about time tracking? Are there any apps you recommend?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
For time tracking, tools like Toggle and Rescue Time can be game changers.
Right.
They help you identify those sneaky procrastination patterns and see where your time is actually going.
Oh, that would be interesting.
You might be surprised at how much time you're spending on those quick checks of social media.
Oh, probably way too much.
Time tracking sounds like a great way to boost self-awareness.
It does.
And make more intentional choices about how we spend our time.
I agree. And for those looking to level up their productivity skills, online learning platforms like Coursera, Skillshare, and Udemy,
those are great,
offer a wealth of courses on topics like time management, organization, and even overcoming procrastination itself.
There are so many resources out there.
So there's really no excuse for not having the tools and resources to combat procrastination.
Nope.
It's all at our fingertips.
It is.
Yes.
But as you said earlier, technology is a tool, not a magic bullet.
That's true. It's up to us to use these tools effectively.
Yeah.
And to create healthy habits around them.
Absolutely. The goal isn't to become a slave to our technology.
Right.
But to leverage it in a way that supports our goals and enhances our lives.
I like that. Speaking of goals, we talked a lot about time management and external tools. But what about the internal game?
Yeah.
How do we build that mental strength to resist temptation?
Okay.
And stay focused on what matters most?
You're bringing us back to self-regulation.
Self-regulation.
Remember, it's like a muscle that gets stronger with practice.
So how do we pump those self-regulation muscles?
Give me the workout routine. One of the most effective strategies is to create a supportive environment.
A supportive environment.
We talked about minimizing distractions, but it's also about surrounding yourself with people who champion your goals and help you stay accountable.
So it's like having a personal cheering squad.
Exactly.
Reminding you why you started in the first place.
Yeah.
And celebrating those milestones along the way.
It's also about creating routines and rituals that support your goals.
Okay. What kind of routines?
For example, if you know you're prone to social media black holes in the morning.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Make a rule, no phone until you've finished your most important task of the day.
That's a good one.
Oh.
It's about being proactive and setting yourself up for success.
Yes.
Rather than letting those temptations dictate your actions.
Right. And another crucial aspect of self-regulation.
What's that?
Is strengthening your ability to delay gratification.
Delay gratification.
This is the skill that allows you to resist those quick rewards and work toward bigger, more meaningful goals.
So it's like choosing to save for that dream vacation.
Yes.
Instead of splurging on impulse buys.
Yeah.
Or opting for a healthy salad over that tempting plate of fries.
Exactly. And it takes practice.
It does.
One trick is to make those future rewards more tangible.
More tangible.
Instead of vaguely thinking about retiring comfortably, create a vision board with pictures of your dream retirement home travel destinations or activities.
I love that. It's like giving your brain a sneak peek of the amazing future that awaits.
Yeah.
If you stay committed to your goals.
Another strategy is to make the process itself more enjoyable.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Dread going to the gym. Find a workout buddy.
Okay.
Listen to upbeat music or try a new class.
That's a good idea.
You're more likely to stick with it if it doesn't feel like a chore.
It's all about finding ways to make those less desirable tasks a little more palatable.
Right. Now let's not forget about the emotional side of things.
Okay.
When we're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or anxious.
I feel all of those.
It becomes much harder to resist those tempting distractions and stay focused.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. Stress eating anyone.
That's why developing healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with those tough emotions is crucial.
So important.
It's like having a toolbox of strategies you can pull from when you're feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, a toolbox. I like that.
Yeah.
So what are some go-to tools in that emotional toolbox?
Think mindfulness meditation exercise.
Those are good.
Spending time in nature, journaling, whatever, helps you process those feelings and find that sense of calm amidst the chaos.
I need some of that calm.
It's about finding what works for you and making it a regular part of your routine.
So true. And it's also about being proactive.
Yes.
And identifying those situations that tend to trigger those negative emotions.
Exactly.
So if public speaking sends my anxiety through the roof, I might start practicing in front of smaller groups or recording myself giving presentations to build my confidence.
Exactly. It's about taking small steps to challenge ourselves and build our resilience.
Okay.
So we're less likely to get derailed by those difficult emotions.
That makes sense. Now, there's one more powerful technique I want to share with you. Okay, lay it on me.
And it's all about the power of the mind. Have you ever tried visualization?
Visualization. Is that like manifesting your dreams?
It's similar, but with a more active approach.
Okay.
Visualization is about creating a vivid mental image of yourself successfully completing a task or achieving a goal.
I can picture it. So instead of just vaguely thinking about finishing that report, I might actually visualize myself sitting at my desk, feeling focused and productive, typing away, and then that feeling of relief and satisfaction as I hit the submit button.
Exactly. Engage all your senses in the visualization.
All my senses.
What do you see, hear, feel, smell, and even taste in that moment of success?
Wow.
The more real you make it, the more powerful it becomes.
So I might imagine the sound of the keyboard clicking.
Yes.
The smell of fresh coffee brewing, the taste of that celebratory piece of chocolate I'm going to reward myself with.
Exactly. You're essentially creating a mental blueprint for success.
I love that.
Which helps your brain believe it's possible.
So powerful. It's like giving your subconscious mind a sneak peek of the victory that awaits.
I love it. And visualization can also help with those pesky negative thoughts and beliefs.
Really?
That often fuel procrastination.
So if I'm struggling with self-doubt, I might visualize myself confidently delivering that presentation.
Yes.
Even if I make a small mistake.
Yeah.
And seeing the audience respond positively.
Exactly. It's about rewiring those mental patterns and replacing those self-limiting beliefs with a more empowering narrative.
I like that. Okay, visualization sounds like a powerful tool.
It is.
But before we move on, can we touch on the importance of aligning our actions with our values?
Absolutely.
I feel like that plays a big role in motivation and staying committed to our goals.
You're spot on. Values are like our internal compass, guiding our decisions and actions.
Okay, our internal compass. So how do we use our values to combat procrastination?
Right.
And create a life that feels truly fulfilling?
The first step is to identify your core values.
Identify our values.
What's truly important to you?
Oh.
What do you stand for? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
Good questions.
Yeah.
Once you've identified those values, you can start making choices that are consistent with them.
Exactly. It's about living a life that feels authentic.
I like that.
And aligned with your deepest beliefs.
And when you're living in alignment with your values, you're more likely to feel a sense of purpose and motivation.
It's like you're tapping into an inner source of energy and inspiration.
Oh, I like that.
And that can be a powerful antidote to procrastination.
It can.
Because when you're engaged in work that feels meaningful and aligned with your value, it's less likely to feel like a chore.
Right. It's like you're working with the current rather than against it.
Exactly. And when you're clear about your values, it's easier to set boundaries.
Okay.
And say no to those things that don't align with your priorities.
So if I value spending quality time with my family,
yes,
I might be more likely to decline that extra project that would require me to work late nights and weekends.
Right. And if you value health and well-being, you might be more likely to prioritize exercise and healthy eating even when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
It's about making choices that reflect your values.
Yes.
Even when those choices are difficult or require you to sacrifice immediate gratification.
Exactly. And when you live in alignment with your values, you're more likely to feel confident, fulfilled, and empowered. Right. And that can be a powerful force for overcoming procrastination and achieving your goals.
Okay, aligning with our values sounds like a game changer for long-term motivation and fulfillment.
It really can be.
But how do we actually stay motivated and committed to our goals over time? Because let's face it, motivation can be fleeting.
You're absolutely right. Motivation can ebb and flow.
It does.
But there are some key strategies we can use to cultivate a more sustainable sense of motivation and commitment.
Let's hear them. And one of the most effective strategies is to set SMART goals.
SMART goals.
Have you ever heard of that acronym?
Of course, SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, so we've got a lot going on there.
We do.
They're a powerful tool for setting ourselves up for success.
They are.
Well, let's break that down. What does it mean for a goal to be specific?
Well, a specific goal is clearly defined and focused.
Okay.
It answers the questions of who, what, where, when, and why.
So a lot of questions.
So instead of just saying, I want to lose weight.
Right, very vague.
A specific goal might be, I want to lose 10 pounds by June 1st by exercising 3 times a week and tracking my calories.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about measurable?
A measurable goal is one that we can track and quantify.
So data.
So in the weight loss example, we can measure our progress by tracking our weight loss each week.
Got it. And achievable.
An achievable goal is one that is realistic and attainable.
Okay.
Given our current resources and circumstances.
Right. We have to work within our limits.
So we need to set goals that are challenging but not overwhelming.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot between pushing ourselves and setting ourselves up for success.
Exactly. And what about relevant.
A relevant goal is one that is aligned with our values and our overall life goals.
Yes.
So if we're setting a goal to lose weight, it should be because we value health and well-being, not because we're trying to meet someone else's expectations.
Right. It's about making sure that our goals are meaningful and motivating to us personally.
Love that.
Yeah.
And finally, time-bound.
A time-bound goal has a specific deadline.
A deadline, okay.
Which helps to create a sense of urgency and accountability.
So like that presentation due tomorrow.
Exactly. So in our weight loss example, we set a deadline of June 1st.
Got it. Okay. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
All of that.
And by setting goals that meet these criteria,
Yep.
we can increase our chances of success and stay motivated over time.
Exactly. And another important aspect of staying motivated is to break down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
We've talked about this before in the context of the baby steps approach.
Right.
But it's worth emphasizing again.
It is.
Because it's such a powerful strategy for building momentum and preventing overwhelm.
Right. When we're facing a big, daunting goal, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Totally.
And to procrastinate.
Yeah. But when we break that goal down into smaller, more achievable steps,
yes,
it suddenly feels much more manageable.
It does. It's like climbing a mountain. If we just focus on the summit, it can feel impossible.
I can see that.
But if we break the climb down into smaller stages, focusing on reaching the next base camp, it suddenly feels much more doable.
And each small win along the way builds our confidence and motivates us to keep going.
And it's important to celebrate those small wins along the way, too. Remember, positive reinforcement is a powerful tool for staying motivated.
Absolutely. We need to acknowledge our progress and to give ourselves credit for the effort we're putting in.
And those celebrations don't have to be big or elaborate. It could be something as simple as taking a break to enjoy a cup of coffee or listening to your favorite song.
It's about finding ways to make the process more enjoyable and rewarding.
Yeah.
So that we're less likely to burn out or give up along the way.
Right. And another key to staying motivated is to find ways to stay inspired.
Stay inspired.
This might involve reading books or articles about our goals. Listening to podcasts, attending workshops or conferences. Or connecting with others who are working towards similar goals.
I love that. It's about feeding our minds with positive and inspiring content.
That
keeps us motivated and excited about the journey.
Exactly. And it's also about surrounding ourselves with supportive people who believe in us and who encourage us to keep going.
Because, let's face it, we all need a little encouragement sometimes.
We do.
Especially when we're facing challenges or setbacks.
Absolutely. And sometimes that encouragement comes from within. We need to be our own best cheerleaders and to remind ourselves of our strengths, our accomplishments, and our reasons for pursuing our goals.
Okay, so we've talked about SMART goals, breaking down big goals into smaller steps, celebrating our wins, staying inspired, and surrounding ourselves with support.
We have covered a lot.
What other tips do you have for staying motivated and committed to our goals?
Well, one strategy that I find really helpful is to create a visual reminder of our goals.
A visual reminder.
This might involve creating a vision board. Writing down our goals on sticky notes and placing them where we'll see them every day. Or using a goal tracking app to monitor our progress.
I love the idea of a vision board. It's such a powerful way to bring our goals to life.
It is.
And to keep them top of mind.
Exactly. And the act of creating a vision board can be really inspiring in itself. It's a chance to get creative, to dream big.
I love it.
And to visualize the life we want to create for ourselves.
And once we've created that vision board, we can place it somewhere where we'll see it every day. Like our bedroom, our office, or even our bathroom mirror. That way we're constantly reminded of our goals and inspired to take action.
Right. And another great way to stay motivated
How's that?
Is to track our progress.
Track our progress.
This might involve using a journal, a spreadsheet, or a goal tracking app to monitor our wins, our challenges.
So everything.
And our lessons learned along the way.
I love the idea of tracking our progress because it allows us to see how far we've come.
Yes.
And to celebrate those small wins along the way. And it also helps us to identify those areas where we might need to adjust our approach or seek additional support.
It's about being proactive and making adjustments as needed rather than just hoping that things will magically work out.
And I think it's also important to remember that motivation isn't always going to be there.
That's very true.
There will be times when we feel discouraged, overwhelmed, or simply uninspired.
That's absolutely true. Motivation is like a wave.
A wave.
It ebbs and flows.
I like that.
And it's important to be prepared for those times when our motivation dips.
So what can we do when we're feeling unmotivated?
Well, one strategy is to simply acknowledge those feelings.
Okay.
And to be kind to ourselves.
Be kind to ourselves.
It's okay to not feel motivated all the time. We're human, not robots.
So true. So instead of beating ourselves up for feeling unmotivated, we might simply say, it's okay to feel this way. I'm going to give myself permission to take a break.
Yes.
And come back to this when I'm feeling more inspired.
Exactly. And sometimes that break is all we need to recharge our batteries and to come back to our goals with renewed energy and enthusiasm.
I love that. And if we're struggling to get back on track, we can always revisit those strategies we've talked about.
Good point.
Like setting smart goals, breaking down big goals into smaller steps, celebrating our wins, staying inspired, and surrounding ourselves with support.
Right. And we can also experiment with new strategies and find what works best for us, because the key to staying motivated is to find a system that feels sustainable and supportive.
Right.
And that aligns with our unique needs and goals.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on staying motivated. But before we move on to the next section, I want to touch on one more important aspect of achieving our goals.
Okay.
And that's the role of perseverance.
Perseverance.
Because, let's face it, achieving our goals is rarely easy.
It's not.
There will. Welcome back to Growth Within. We've been on quite a journey exploring the ins and outs of procrastination, and now it's time to bring it all home.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From understanding the emotional roots of procrastination to practical tips for time management, and even how to create a procrastination-proof environment.
It's been a real eye-opener, especially realizing that procrastination isn't about laziness, but often a response to deeper emotions like fear and anxiety.
Exactly. It's like our brain trying to protect us from discomfort, even if that protection ultimately backfires.
So true, but the good news is we've also learned there are tons of strategies to break free from the cycle.
Absolutely. And those strategies start with becoming aware of your personal procrastination triggers. What are the situations, thoughts, or feelings that tend to send you down that procrastination rabbit hole?
It's like being a detective, figuring out those patterns, and then developing a plan to outsmart them.
Exactly. Yeah. For example, if you notice you often procrastinate on tasks that feel overwhelming, the baby steps approach we discussed could be your secret weapon. Break that monster task down into smaller, more manageable chunks, and suddenly it feels much less intimidating.
It's amazing how much easier it is to take action when we shift our perspective and focus on those smaller steps.
It is. And don't forget the power of those behavioral hacks we talked about. Temptation bundling can be a game changer for making those dreaded tasks more appealing. Pairing something you need to do with something you want to do is like a reward system for your brain.
It's like tricking your brain into cooperating. And let's not forget about those tech tools that can help us stay organized and on track.
Absolutely. Task management apps, time tracking tools, online learning platforms, they're like digital allies in the battle against procrastination.
Okay, so we've got strategies for understanding our triggers, breaking down tasks, using behavioral hacks, and leveraging technology. What else should we keep in mind as we embark on this procrastination-busting journey?
One of the most important things is to remember that it's a process, not a destination. There will be days when you rock it and days when you slip up, and that's okay.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to wobble, you might even fall a few times, but the key is to keep getting back on and keep practicing.
Exactly. And that's where self-compassion comes in. When you do stumble, treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend.
It's about being your own cheerleader, not your own worst critic.
Right. Remember, you're on your own team. And one more thing, celebrate those wins no matter how small they seem.
Oh, yes. Those little victories can be incredibly motivating. It's like giving yourself a high five for every step in the right direction.
Exactly. And as you continue on this journey, remember that you don't have to do it alone. Reach out to your support system, connect with accountability partners, or join a group of like-minded individuals who are also striving to overcome procrastination.
Because sometimes just knowing you're not alone in the struggle can make all the difference.
It can. And one final piece of advice, keep learning and experimenting. There's so many resources available, from books and podcasts to workshops and online courses. Find what resonates with you and keep fine-tuning your approach.
It's about becoming a student of your own productivity, discovering what works best for you, and creating a system that supports your unique needs and goals.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Procrastination is a common challenge, but it's not an unbeatable foe.
With the right strategies, a healthy dose of self-compassion, and a willingness to keep learning and growing, you can break free and create a life that feels more focused, productive, and fulfilling.
Absolutely. So take a moment to reflect on what you've learned today. Choose one strategy that resonates with you and commit to taking action. Even a small step in the right direction can make a world of difference.
And remember, we're here to support you on your growth within journey. We've got a whole series of deep dives planned, exploring all sorts of fascinating topics to help you unlock your potential and become the best version of yourself.
So be sure to subscribe to the podcast and our newsletter for more insights and inspiration. And in the meantime, keep those questions coming. We love hearing from you and learning about the challenges you're facing and the goals you're pursuing.
Because growth is a journey, not a destination. And we're all in this together.
Beautifully said. All right, everyone, that's a wrap for our procrastination deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay motivated, and keep striving to growth within.